Hi, I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema Generic Ad.
Join us every Wednesday as we talk about films that seem to be forgotten by audiences, whether it be because a more popular movie was released at the same time or the film simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the film, maybe don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it. You never know, you might find your own forgotten gem. Forgotten Cinema is available wherever you get your podcasts or at ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com or ForgottenEntertainment.com, as we are a proud part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
I swear I talk more in the episodes.
Hello there. I'm Colleen.
I'm Anders.
And I'm Daniel.
We're nerds who love science fiction and fantasy stories, so of course, we love Star Wars.
And if there's one thing the internet definitely doesn't have enough of, it's nerds talking about Star Wars. So each episode, we journey to a galaxy far, far away to discuss what's new in the Star Wars canon and beyond with yet another Star Wars podcast.
From the endless sand dunes of Tatooine to the highest levels of Coruscant, we cover it all. Yet another Star Wars podcast is available wherever you get your podcast and is proudly part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
Hi, I'm Shamar Griffith, codename Comic Shams.
And I'm Andrew Tejada, codename Arate.
I'm a blurred with a love for artwork and comics and animation.
And I'm a writer and blurred with a love for pretty much the same things.
We grew up together and spent much of our formative years watching and talking about DC superhero shows and content. In fact, we still do.
Every episode, we will discuss a DC production, compare it to its original source material, and share our thoughts on the adaptation.
We've enjoyed our conversations these past couple of decades, and we think you will too.
This season, we'll put a shock to our system by covering Static Shock, the animated series, on
yet another DC animated podcast. Welcome to yet another episode, yet another DC animated podcast. My name is Shamar Griffith, codename Comic Shams.
And I am Andrew Tejada, codename Arate.
Andrew and I have known each other since 1996.
That was the year Poison Ivy 2, Lily came out. It's not a movie for kids. I'll say that much.
I was like, when did Poison Ivy even get a movie? And I was just like, oh, this is not a superhero movie, y'all. So Martin Scorsese might be actually okay with this one.
Yeah, I think he would like the movie. It's very not for kids. So kids at home, don't watch this one. This is not the Poison Ivy movie you're expecting.
But you know what is for the kids? These two episodes that we're talking about today for Static Shock. That is right. We are talking season 3 is here. We got a brand new look, a brand new style. Everything is just so brand spanking new, including the animation, as we talk about season 3's episodes 1 and 2, Hard as Nails, and one that I think is going to be really awesome to talk about, Gear.
Oh, yes.
So it's a great thing that we brought up Poison Ivy, because one thing we know about her from her skill set is that she deals a lot with the pheromones that are connected to plants. And because we have our Valentine's Day episode here, shout out to Calendar Man. Thank you for not taking away our families this time around. But we did like doing this Valentine's Day episode, which we're going to title with these back-to-back shows, Show Your Love, inspired by Steve Harvey from the Apollo TV's time. And it's just mainly because we get a brand new look at Static, a brand new look at characters. So there's a lot of new introductions that you will see here today. Our main cast of Static is back for the season 3 premiere, as well as some special guest stars, as we have Kevin Conroy returning as the Batman Bruce Wayne. We have Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. I hope I didn't butcher that name too badly. As Alfred. I think this is his first time appearing into the Static Shock series. So welcome, Alfred. We love you. We love your dry British humor. We have Takia Crystal Kima, who was previously a background character in season 2, but now she returns for more dialogue and story as Allie, aka Nails, in our Hard as Nails episode. Providing the sultry voice of Poison Ivy here, we have Diane Pershing, who has actually voiced a lot of characters in the Paul Dini Timverse adaptations. And finally, we couldn't have a Valentine's Day episode without the true Queen of Hearts here, as we have Arlene Sorkin, the first woman to provide the voice of Harley Quinn, creating the character's iconic tone, demeanor, and influence to all the other voice talents that have ever voiced Harley Quinn, including Tara Strong and Hynden Walsh, who was also in a previous episode of ours, and who's also the inspiration of the Margot Robbie version of Harley Quinn in the DCEU films. So shout out to Arlene for legit creating a new character to add to the Batman mythos.
Yeah, I mean, and I imagine they named the character after her, Harleen Quinzel. Arlene. It's got. I feel that must be connected.
You just learn more and more things here. So if that's the case, that's an applause. That's just an applause.
Unless that's just a really weird coincidence.
All right, so we're starting it off now. Season 3 begins of Static Shock as we start off with Hard as Nails.
Right away, we're gonna hit it. They hit us with that Romeo theme, that Little Romeo classic Static, and at the time, this was mind blowing. This was worlds colliding. This was huge on the playground back then. And after we get the great theme, we open up with, of course, the classic Harvey Bullock. He's in Gotham. He's doing his thing, which is not very much, and he's worried because there's some villains in town, and we have Nails running away throughout Gotham, and as she's running from, we're like, who is she running from? And Static comes in with this awesome lightning visual of him just dominating the skies. It's a nice homage to Batman, appearing in front of the lightning bolt. Static gets his little lightning bolt moment here in Gotham, and we see that he's here pursuing Nails, and we don't know what the history is between them, but he's here to stop her.
Yeah, this is a really cool scene just to open up to, because as we see Static get in his moment, I'm pretty sure he probably created that lightning just for effect. Like, I'm pretty sure it was a very calm as hell day in Gotham. He was just like, I'm just going to put that out there. But he's calling out to Allie, saying that, like, he wants her to come back with him because it seems as Allie is from Dakota. And we see that Allie has this like crazy ability to basically be indestructible. We first start off seeing her using her nails, hence the name, to cut through metal gates and able to take like really great hits when it comes to anything that may be falling in her direction. So he keeps calling back out to her, and in this moment we get a Static. He sees like he's lost track of her, so he's just like, all right, how did I even get up to the point where I'm now in Gotham? Like, how did it all come to this? Is now we start a flashback after a quick fight between the two of them, really showing off both of their skills and capabilities. And we flash back to 3 days ago in Dakota, where we see that Virgil, as narrator, is playing in a pickup game with Richie and a couple other people, and Allie happens to be passing by wearing a trench coat, which already alerts Virgil because he's just like, yo, it's like hot in Dakota right now.
Yeah, she's got the trench coat on. Another cool thing I think about this moment is that Allie's Big Bang change, I don't want to say mutation, that's the X-Men, but her change has caused her to have to wear makeup to conceal her, because when she uses her powers, her skin turns a different tone on purpose, animators. And so in this case, I like this idea of her having to hide it being outward. And while they're playing this pickup game, because they're playing with a non-regulation hoop, because this thing fell over
Yo,
so easily.
Not even in the hood would you ever see a hoop put together that badly. What happened here?
The construction guys are really cutting corners on this hoop. So as the hoop falls over, Nails activates her powers. Allie, aka Nails, activates her powers so the hoop doesn't crush her. And although they're all suspicious of this moment combined with the trench coat, they just kind of let things go. And in the subsequent scene, we see Allie is back in the school. She's desperate, clearly. And she uses her powers to break into everyone's lockers. And everyone is pretty torn up about this. They stole a couple of they stole money, stole valuable items, but they do notice that Allie's locker was untouched, which, you know, she's an amateur criminal, but you gotta cover your tracks here, girl. You gotta scratch your own locker up.
This might have been for Allie's first stop in her escape or her period of running away from Dakota, because we find out from Daisy that first off, I will honestly say I didn't realize it was Daisy at first, because everybody gets like a completely drastic makeover now. Like,
Yeah.
Virgil's lost the red and yellow shirt. He's wearing like a full like yellow jersey with Tim's, and I was just like, you can't get more New York than that. And Daisy's hair, she's like now moved from short hair, the short bob she had, to like longer hair, wearing like a flower, I think, on her shirt or something. But she points out that Allie's parents came by to the school looking for her because Allie apparently either ran away from home last night or didn't come home last night. So they're trying to figure out where she is. But Virgil remembers that when they went to go save Allie, or at least like check up on her after she got hit by the backboard, that one of the papers that she had in her hand was a map of Gotham. So now Virgil uses this really, I do have to question this because I don't think this actually works, but he uses his abilities to access the latest set of files or website that Allie was on. So is Virgil like electrotechnopathic all of a sudden now?
Yeah, I mean, this scene is hilarious to me because what I was thinking of, even outside of him being able to do this, I was like, you could have just pressed computer history.
Right.
It's a function of the computer. You didn't need to do all of this.
It was just like, we're going to show the craziest amounts of electrical power so you could think of. Don't question it, kids, but we question it as adults.
Yeah, I don't really understand how his electricity would affect the computer. Like, it doesn't really, it's so unnecessary. It's hilarious, but it's unnecessary. And as he uses this really unnecessary hack, he discovers that Allie was trying to sneak to Gotham to get a cure, and she was communicating with people on the internet. So it's a nice little, static, always relevant social issues. So it sneaks in a thing which will keep recurring about talking to strangers on the internet at that age. And as he realizes he has to head to Gotham, we get another banger of a song. The one step ahead of the game.
One shot. Yo, Allie, I don't know who is scoring this music, but y'all, kudos, man, because like each and every single one of these songs since Bigfoot has been an absolute banger.
I was in love with this song.
But yeah, as we see Allie getting chased down with the epic music of all time, it seems now that they're running on rooftops, and we know one person who tends to be hopping around on rooftops is Batman. As Batman has now joined the scene, he is able to use his Batarang grapple line to tie up Allie here. As Static swoops in, he's just like, at first he's like shocked to just see that Batman was around. And, but he does kind of keep it cool, thanking him for the assist. But now we're seeing that like Batman is stating that like he can't let Nails go. He can't turn her over to Static to take back to Dakota, because he now wants to see who was she planning on meeting up with. That leads to the big reveal of all, where we get Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn appearing. Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn are flying in on one of the Gotham like blimps that are always circling around in Batman the Animated Series. So as Poison Ivy kind of like encases Batman and Static up in some wood, they're able to escape with Allie, and leaving us now to believe that Static and Batman are dead.
Yeah, you can forget how powerful Poison Ivy is sometimes. And yeah, she immediately incapacitates both heroes. And we know how powerful Static is throwing items into space. But against Poison Ivy, he can't do much because of
Right.
his weakness to wood. Luckily, Batman used cut, and it was super effective to get out of the the wooden. And as they're making their way out and they're figuring out their next move, Poison Ivy and Harley are talking with Allie. And we also get another song because this it's just a straight banger of a soundtrack. We get the Me and My Homegirl song, which is, come on now, like just so good. And it comes back several times. But Poison Ivy and Harley, they're talking to Allie and they're saying, if you want to go back to normal, if you don't want to be a better human anymore, you got to do something for us. You got to do a job for us. And, Allie agrees, like, if it's one crime, I'll help out. So it's a really interesting thing where she has been deceived by these strangers on the internet, but she realizes they kind of need her. And she needs them in this moment. So she agrees to do that, while Batman, who has gotten Virgil out, decides to take him back to the Batcave.
And here is my favorite moment of this entire episode, because Static, he apparently, I guess, just passed out during his time being encased in wood. And as he's waking back up, he realizes that he's in a much better place, in a much better HQ than his abandoned gas station of Solitude, as Alfred is standing over him, removing splinters from his body. And Virgil asks him straight up, like, yo, who are you? And Alfred says that he's Batman. To which Virgil's just like, no, I know that's not true. And Alfred says that he hopes one day, when this ever happens again, that someone truly believes it.
I love it. I love it.
So good. And then as Alfred passes Static his jacket, Static is just like, yo, thanks, dog. And Alfred's just like, no problem, dude. And I never knew that Alfred was down with the homies like this, man. Like, Alfred, he's a treasure. Just protect this man forever.
Yeah, like Alfred's down with the kids. He has to keep up with the kids because of all the Robins that come in.
Oh, that's true.
So he's up on it. And
Alfred definitely has a TikTok account.
Oh, definitely, just in case.
Mm-hmm.
See what Jason Todd's up to. And so Virgil wakes up. He goes over to Batman, who's in full costume as always. And when Batman says his name, he's like, how'd you know? And Batman's like, you probably shouldn't carry your ID while you're solving crimes. Great line. And after establishing Robin is hanging out with the Titans, Batman just says, we got to take Allie down. And Virgil's like, I know Allie, trust me. We can rehabilitate. And it's a nice moment because, Batman's always about rehabilitating the villains. So it's nice to see Virgil trying to do the same thing. And so they agree to play it their way to try to take down Allie safely before sending her off to Arkham Asylum, which would definitely mess her up for life. And meanwhile, Harley, Poison Ivy, and Nails are there to take on a boat full of gold to steal. And I just felt so bad for these men on this boat. All they had with the axes, but that's not enough.
Yeah, it was not. Cut was not effective here at this point. Because now we see that Poison Ivy, Harley, and Allie, or Nails, are now basically robbing this boat of all the gold bars that are there. Poison Ivy and Harley are just enjoying the fact that they're about to be rich. But Allie just really does not want to be a part of this. She's really keeping a step back. She's not even jumping in to help in any way, shape, or form, but she's forced by Poison Ivy and Harley to just do something. And ultimately, she does show off that she does have some really great super strength here, as she starts packing the airship that they had with all the gold bars that are there. And now we have that Static and Batman, they're flying out in the Batwing. At the same time of all this going down, GCPD has been alerted to the fact that, this boat is being robbed. So Static and Batman head on over to the top of GCPD for the iconic meetup with Gordon and Bullock.
Yeah, in this meeting, Bullock was talking mad spicy for no reason.
Yo, word!
Like, what are you doing to stop them, Bullock? What are you working on right now? I was like, Bullock, come on, man. And I also do want to notice that when they were taking the Bat vehicle this time around, there was a resealable rock like floor. Who contracted this, Bruce? Who's doing this?
Yeah, because like despite what the Christopher Nolan and maybe the Batflick versions have showed us, Batman ain't building his own Batcave like this. There is no way that Bruce Wayne has structural engineering knowledge to this level. It is impossible. He spent majority of his life training to fight crime. Where did he get this? I need to know if it's Alfred, because if that's the case, Alfred needs to get paid more.
Yeah, he definitely earned his paycheck. But during this conversation, they do figure out that an attack is happening on the boat, and Batman and Virgil head off to stop them, which does lead to a funny going away line where Bullock goes, "What did Robin do to his hair?" So you know what? Bullock, he doesn't see color.
He doesn't.
He's a dumbass.
Yes, 100% a dumbass.
So back on the ship, Allie is, she's feeling regret for doing this because it becomes very clear that this is not going to be a one-time job. Like, they're gonna have her use her crazy strength in future jobs. And Harley responds by just nearly straight up killing Allie on the spot. But luckily, the Bat vehicle gets there just in time to help Allie get out of the water. And we get a great team up battle of good versus evil here. And, a lot of great moments here. Harley calls Static Kid Kilowatt.
That's my new favorite nickname right now.
Oh, it's a great one. Kid Kilowatt. And Static unleashes like all the electricity he has in his body to take down Harley, which, damn, but is apparently what it takes to knock Harley out for any significant amount of time. At the conclusion of this battle, Nails, she wants revenge. I mean, she almost died. She was deceived by them. She did all this stuff for them. And Static says, Allie, if you go through this, you're going to spend your life running from guys like Batman. And Batman, to his credit, is like, yeah. Like, he did. His look on his face is like, I will hunt you down for the rest of your life if you go through with this. So
I also do want to add too that like Static also states that she would end up also running away from guys like him. Like, it seems now that like with this new season, Static is really finally putting himself up there, being like, yo, I'm one-on-one with Batman right now. And he's got Gotham, but I got Dakota. Ever come back here after doing this, I have to take you in. It's what I do. So respect to the growth.
Yeah. And she decides to take the nicer path, and that prompts Virgil to pull a Batman and disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Batman, he's like, oh, the kid's got style.
Every one of these episodes, Batman just gets more and more impressed by Virgil. Like,
yeah, see, this is what happens when Batman hangs around black people. He's cooler. He needs more black friends. And in a sweet note, the episode ends with Bruce Wayne funding Allie's treatment to have better control over her abilities. And Virgil's at the hospital and he's like, thank you so much, Bruce, for doing this. Like, you didn't have to go through all this trouble. And Bruce is like, oh yeah, no problem. And in one of the greatest identity reveals, instead of saying his name or saying I'm Batman or anything like that, he just has Alfred show up. And that's all it takes for Virgil to put two and two together and realize, some trust has been earned.
Yep.
And it's a great moment between those two. I love this reveal.
It's I loved it also just because it's like it solidified for me too that like Virgil as Static is being more and more accepted into the DC universe proper here. It was always kind of like with season 1, it was always just a question because it was mostly just like references that will come up. Season 2 had the overall, just like saying that like, all right, maybe we'll do like it had the feeling of like, maybe it's just like, this is just a cross-dimensional one-time only kind of vibe. But now it really kind of solidified that like, Virgil earned the respect. He is part of the Diniverse that's been created here. So I really enjoyed this episode. As we close this one out to start off with Gear, episode 2 of season 3, which is another game changer, I think. Definitely will say. How about you?
Oh man, I love this episode. This episode actually it did inspire. I took this episode a lot of cues for my Static Shock screenplay that I've written, because I love this Richie plot line, which we kick off where he's doing some hide and seek with Virgil back in the gas station of Solitude, and Virgil eventually realizes that Richie's got this backpack that can crawl around places and project his voice, and as well as some new restraint devices for bang babies. So Static's like, these are really impressive things you're coming up with. Like, you've been on this inventing kick lately, like a moving backpack. That I definitely wanted this. I don't know about you.
I needed that. I was just like, yo, how can I get a mechanical backpack that I can, how often I've lost my backpack in the previous years, that I'm just like, it'd be nice for it to just crawl back to me. So
yeah. Forget those rolling backpacks. This is what we really needed.
Oh my gosh, yo. Yeah, those rolling backpacks they had a hold on our culture for a while.
Oh God, you get kicked them, then like run over people's foot, like. And speaking of foot, this episode returns the man, the myth, the legend. Bigfoot is back
with an even more Jamaican theme song.
They heard us. They upped up the ante because he is back with the rest of the meta breed, and his theme song is louder than ever. And Yvonne, Bootleg Hot Girl, Razor Fist McGee, they're all here, and they're all back, and they want revenge. They do want some revenge, and Yvonne, it's this great continuity callback because he spots Richie, and he's like, wait a minute, Richie is always showing up where Static is. They're always peas in the pod. So I just need to get Richie, and then I got Static instantly. So Eban is just too quick. He's too fast. In this episode, he's so fast.
It's fast as fuck, boy. Fast as fuck. But yeah, it's just really cool to see this continuity that continues to happen, because here we have Eban is we also get a bit of kind of like backstory with like how Eban and the rest of the meta breed met each other, because they have this new hangout. They're at this juvenile detention center, and then while they're there, they're like reminiscent. They're like Eban and what's his name, Lightning Blade McGee. They're talking about how back in the day they used to be up in this spot, and now they're like, yeah, but now we really run the place. So it was just really kind of cool just to see this backstory developing for these characters that we've been seeing since like season 1. And to continue on this connection, Eban once again orders around Talon, Evil Hawk Girl to keep an eye out for Richie. Check out the Dakota High. And this is where Talon is just like, you can see her now like flying around the high school as, in this really cool scene where Virgil and Richie are now in class. They're in this like, I have no idea what level of math this is.
I was gonna say the same thing. The math on that board was way too complicated.
I think it was monomials. I know I learned that, but I was just like, I have no idea what this is even anymore. I feel like I learned that maybe like taking the calculus class or like AP calculus class or something.
Yeah, this is like a beautiful mind kind of stuff.
Yo,
Like I don't some Matt Damon like them apples kind of math. Like it was crazy. But when the teacher asked someone to solve it, Richie guesses and he basically has the answer like right away. So this is what sparks Virgil to be like, hey, you are real smart. And they put together during this episode that, you know, Richie, because he hung around Static shortly after the Big Bang, some of the gases were dormant in Richie, and like he's getting this spike in intelligence due to this like long-term effect, and it really starts messing with him a bit.
yeah, he starts to really freak out. Like, you know, it's mainly because he's worried about what's going to happen to him. You know, we've already seen some of the crazy things that have happened in terms of the alterations that people have gone through for their physical forms. So, and he's worried that, like, you know, he's going to get a bigger head, like a actually physical bigger head. So, or even that his brain's going to be literally on fire. So luckily enough, though, Virgil, at least just during their conversation as they're walking, he's able to calm him down a bit. However, this whole interaction of them outside of the gas station of Solitude, not talking about the abilities, not talking about who Virgil is and all that, all gets recorded by Talon, who takes the video back to Ebon. And now Ebon and the Metabreed are kind of putting two and two together, even though they do have their doubts that Virgil may be Static, which in a really cool scene was just like a cool acknowledgement of just a cultural acknowledgement here. Was the Talon was just like, yo, Virgil is Static. Don't you see his hair? And Ebon was just like, nah, man, dudes wear their head like that. Just acknowledging that moment there is just like, it's not just because of hair that he has to be Static, but saying that, like, yo, anybody could legit be Static. Man, people look like him. So we can't just go around grabbing the first person that we see with a hairstyle like that. So just really cool acknowledgement of just like a cultural acceptance of like hairstyles within the Black community happening there. So,
oh yeah, I love that. It's one of my favorite lines, like that he does not immediately assume that it's Static because of the hairstyle. I think that's huge. It's so good. And he does think like things are adding up, so he wants to see more. And while Richie is talking about building a particle accelerator, and all the Flash fans know how bad an idea that is, Ebon at lunch finds Virgil. And I love this. It's weird to say, but this kidnapping scene is done so slick. Like Ebon pulls this off.
Yeah.
So it's such a slick way, which does make me wonder, did he get kidnapped in the middle of the school day?
Yeah, and there was no one to even just be like, yo, Virgil missed class today, so or even see that Virgil got kidnapped except for Richie.
My lunch aides wouldn't let us play Uno, so if somebody got kidnapped during the school period, I'm pretty sure the lunch aides would have caught on.
Yeah, this kidnapping was a sign that please start funding our schools better now, guy.
Yeah, but after he gets kidnapped, they take him back to the juvie and they put him in like this padded cell room. And Virgil quickly puts together that they suspect he's Static. So he realizes he can't use any of his powers to get out of there. So it comes down to Richie, who luckily has built his own Iron Man suit just in time to help out Static.
Yes, it is right. It is time for Richie's superhero debut part 2. Because remember, this boy was Push. I'm not gonna let him. I'm not gonna let him forget that. So Richie ends up. He grabs backpack. He grabs this helmet that he created to help basically connect himself to backpack and also track anything as well. He's got on some rocket boots that we saw he made earlier. He's got some zap caps and he's ready. He is gone out. He is flying very frantically, I will point out, very frantically flying out to go save his friend. As now, and he does I want to say a pretty, I give it a solid B for his first villain takedown.
Oh yeah, crashing right into bootleg hot girl so hard that without breaking anything, luckily he doesn't break an arm again.
Right. Yeah, he was not flying, he was falling with style. That's what.
Oh yeah. Then Richie has to get smart because he's got several members of the Metabreed to take down. And I love this whole stealth section with Richie. I hate stealth sections in video games mostly, but I enjoyed watching Richie do it here. And first up, he's got to go against the man, the myth, Bigfoot.
Yes.
His theme was blaring, but it couldn't stop Richie.
It wasn't enough. And Lightning Blade McGee also ends up getting taken down pretty quickly. So now the only person left is Richie and Ebon. And we get a really cool scene here where Richie, upon seeing Ebon watching the cameras, he's able to communicate with Virgil through the shock boxes, and Virgil's able to like pick up on the audio of it just enough so it's off screen. And Richie sends over Backpack to loop the video of Virgil kind of just like walking around, giving Virgil enough time to not only power up, but also Richie heads on over and drops off his suit, leading to our season's first Super Saiyan power-up costume change. Very happy about this one because also we got a stylistic change in the static outfit, with now instead of the white shirt, the black shirt with the gold lightning bolt in the middle. So very excited for this one. And now though, Kangor, I keep going for their real names. I don't want to. So now Bigfoot and Lightning Blade McGee, they finally untied themselves and heading over to where Ebon is to alert them that they've been ambushed by the by the flying styles of Richie.
Yeah, and this leads to our big fight team up, and immediately Virgil and Richie have a good rapport. They've always had a good rapport, so you can see them have so much fun taking out these guys together. And because the video feed is looped, now suspicion is fully off of Virgil as static. And it's such a small detail, but it's so smart. Like a lot of people don't even think of these things. Like, over in other universes, I'm sure like people like Spider-Man could have thought of solutions like this, but no, Virgil really thinks about this, and they defeat the Metabreed again. And now all that's left is to figure out what the new name is. And the new name is, and Richie suggests Hardware, but that's taken.
Yep.
Nice nod. And there's also, the other name they suggest.
I do love this scene here too, because as soon as Virgil hears Richie suggest Steel, he just looks kind of like that off camera into the audience screen look. It's just like, y'all really believe he's just gonna try to pull this really in front of me, who I am? You think he's gonna get away with Steel? And luckily though, Richie's just like, man, I gotta figure out what to call myself now with all this cool gear that I got. And that's where they get the name Gear, because Static's just like, what about that? That seems cool. And it takes Richie a couple seconds to really kind of like accept it, but it's just like, yeah, I like it.
Yeah, and it sounds good. Yeah. The gear gear sounds good. It's fitting. So yeah, I'm 100% into it.
Yep.
And
I do want to point out in this episode, there was a record-breaking 4 DC references in this episode. We had just the names alone. That was 2 there. Because as the episode ends, they're alerted that Hot Streak is rampaging on 52nd and Main. As we know, 52 is a big number in DC. And last but not least, there was also in the very beginning of the episode when Static is going to fight against the meta breed, they're like, yo, it's Static. And he's like, that's right. Don't start none. There won't be none. As we know is the name of Static's first book and the intro to his comic book introduction.
Just leaning on the fourth wall hard, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are our two. And, you know, it's a great double header to open things up for this season 3. So who took it for you this week? You know, you gotta, I mean, again, none of them are going to be on the level of Shaq. Let's get that away right away. But of the two, who do you lean towards?
This is definitely a tough one here, just because, to be honest, I always used to think that Gear was the season premiere, and then it was shocked to see it was Hard as Nails. But honestly, I would have to actually give it to Hard as Nails. I think Hard as Nails kind of, you know, no disrespect to Gear, it was a great first episode and I loved it. I just think that in terms of, you know what, actually I might have to take this back. I actually, instead of Hard as Nails, I think I'm going to give it to Gear. Game time decision here. I think mainly because Gear created an episode of Static that was just a true Static episode. It opened the door and opened the concept of a new universe. Like Hard as Nails was great, and I'm realizing the things that I loved about Hard as Nails were the things that I loved about Batman. But Gear is everything that I loved about Static and this whole series. So I have to give it to Gear because of the fact that, you know, you got a chance to see so many DC milestone connections. We get a chance to see Richie join, you know, he's had this wish to become part of his crime fighter team and be something other than just a man in the chair. And now to finally see his dream come to realization is just awesome. You know, it's not the typical, you know, like he didn't get like laser vision or super strength, but it's just really cool to have someone like Richie join the team, because it's just like when you have someone as powerful as Static, you need someone that has a bit more level-headed and using their mind in order to fight. So this was a good episode of Static for me, and which is why I have to give Gear the top spot. What about you?
Yeah, I think I 100% agree. Like Hard as Nails in most weeks would be the top episode because you have a great villain. You know, they always do such great villains of the week, and this story was really great. And, you know, it has the moral about not trusting strangers on the internet. It has a good arc, and Virgil really sticking his neck out for a metahuman. But I think if you did take away the Batman elements, this episode would feel like it wouldn't match up to things like Frozen or in like the terms of scale and emotional depths. So yeah, Batman does a lot of heavy lifting here, which again is not bad by any means. But I think if you're saying what is a single standalone great Static episode, it's got to be Gear, because you have the setup for Richie, which is going to carry on through the rest of this series. You have, even though we'll see some characters come back from Hard as Nails, but Richie's origins, you have his, like, the things we don't think about. Like Richie was like, oh, this is not cool for him instantly because he's worried about what'll happen to him. He's seen people mutate into purple monsters. He's seen people go crazy and evil. So, and he's had a brush with superpowers before. So I like the caution. I like the upgrade for Richie into a more active sidekick. And look, if you put the Bigfoot theme song down, I'm down. If you had Carmandillo, this would be the series best episode. But yeah, I understand. You can't have everything. But no, but seriously, it's an episode that it dives into some interesting issues. It has a good plot line. It's very smart. It's very tightly told, and has a bunch of nice twists in the middle. So I really do think Gear is deserving the top episode here.
Yeah. And, you know, something that's really cool that I was thinking about after I watched this episode of Gear was they've been kind of setting this up for quite some time. Like, we've been commenting over the fact that Richie is too smart. Like, he's got he should be getting like Elon Musk money by this point. But then there were so many other things that was happening to him, like just seeing how he was creating all of this stuff, and really just like, even this is one thing that I, thinking back to all the way from the very beginning, was when Virgil was so worried about his own metamorphosis when it comes to this whole the Bang Baby incident, and he asked Richie to check his blood, and Richie was just like, I don't see anything different between my blood and yours. And at that moment, there's just like, we were thinking about this, like, okay, Virgil's, nothing's popping up for Virgil where it's going to alert people to like, yeah, he is Static. But then it's like, the same time, it's just like, what if it was because Richie was also morphed in some way, and we just didn't notice that? And then it's like, yeah, it could possibly be that their blood was looking normal, especially because we had the doctor come in and confirm that it was normal. But at that same point, it's just like, we're just probably not seeing something at a much deeper level. And this setup to me is just kind of cool, just because it's just like, there was thoughts that I was reading that there were thoughts that they were going to actually take Richie out of the show entirely. As Static grows as his own hero, we started seeing moments in which Richie just didn't really fit into the dynamic. Like, it, even like thinking back to the Frozen Out episode, he basically just called up Virgil to when the storm had happened. And that was a big episode for a character who's supposed to be the best friend of the main character to not really have any kind of input in one of his biggest episodes. Sounds to me like they're just like trying to figure out what to do with him. And with time, obviously, he could have been written out. But fortunately for us, Richie's transformation into the gear superhero persona tested well for many people. And, it's just really glad to see that we now finally get a chance to, speak from like Arrow terms, our Diggle has arrived in our DC universe here for Static Shock. So it's just really, I'm just really glad that we were able to really connect Richie and give him an opportunity to become this hero in his own right without it having to be connected to Ragtag or just like his own feelings of inferiority towards Static and trying to do something more, like in the Slipstream episode. So yeah, very glad that we finally get a chance to see Richie kind of come full circle, and kind of cool to see that it's been something that might have been planned out since the very beginning.
Yeah, and just like Diggle, their helmets are equally ridiculous. But
yes, I was like, this helmet looks like the real deep cut here. The helmet that they wore in that like futuristic lacrosse game from Batman Beyond when they had the episode with Bane. I thought it was that, and I was just like, is this like the early prototype? Because what happened in the future where they made them look more like Alien from the Ridley Scott film?
I don't like, I guess it's just the fashion. Everyone try to get that Judge Dredd helmet kind of thing going. I don't know, but no, I 100% agree. I do like that instead of trying to keep writing scenarios where Richie was just there or around, that they integrated him into the show, and by giving him abilities and building on things that already were there. It's always the best thing to see where it feels natural. It's always good to see when it feels natural, and it definitely works.
Yeah. So that there is basically just how great this was to kind of a little bit of a reboot, like a little soft reboot of Static. It felt like, they didn't really address they had one comment on the costume change, but we saw like a drastic difference in the animation style of the characters, some of the clothing that they wear on a typical day. So it was just really cool to see this like change in their appearance and the style, and kind of like, I guess like a moment of growth, because usually in superhero costume worlds, I'm saying this like I'm an expert that makes superhero costumes on the side, which I don't, but usually when a character goes from wearing, like how Stag is wearing a white t-shirt with his logo, moving into a darker theme than the black shirt, it means that the character experienced a moment of growth. And, you know, it is possible based off of the last episode, Jimmy, in which Virgil did see, unfortunately, for Richie to be shot during a gathering at the community center. So we can assume here that this is Static's moment of just like he's experienced growth. He's a more seasoned hero. He understands the consequences of his actions. With great power comes great responsibility, you know, all that. But in terms of the reboot, we did kind of see Static already have one in the comic book world. Back in 2001, because of the popularity of the show, Dwayne McDuffie, Dennis Cowan, Derek T. Dingle, they all came together to reintroduce Static into the DC world proper with the 4-part miniseries Rebirth of the Cool. It was in 2001. It was they put together this comic detailing basically Virgil's what happened to Virgil, while also connecting it very much to the to not only the original run of comics from the original 45 comics from the Milestone universe, but also kind of connecting it to what was happening to him on the TV show. We see in that book, he has a very similar costume to what we saw in the first 2 seasons of the white shirt with the blue trench coat with the yellow banding. So because of that and wanting to reintroduce him into the DC world proper, because again, Milestone and DC were 2 separate universes. Here he's in the DC universe. So we have this little bit of a reboot because now we have to reintroduce Static to the DC world. And this is something that happened here in 2001. And I feel has continuously happened to a lot of superheroes. Right now, today, we are about to see now, what was our 9th version of Batman?
Live action or animated?
Oh man, all right, that is a very good question. We gotta do the count on that one.
If we're live action, we're talking West. We're talking Keaton, Kilmer, Clooney, Bale, Affleck. Pattinson. And yeah, Pattinson will be the 7th movie. We're not counting any TV iterations of Bruce Wayne. Because we were not talking about Gotham yet.
Right. And then we also got, you know, like this is our 3rd popular version of Spider-Man that we're currently on with Tom Holland. There was a Spider-Man movie back in the day. I think it was more based off of the Japanese style of Spider-Man. So
there was there was the one in Japanese where he was bit by he got a blood transfusion from an alien from Planet Spider. The same year there was a very normal relatively interpretation of Spider-Man TV movie where this Peter Parker was like approximately 100 years old. This guy was not a teenager.
What?
He was at least in his 40s, but it was like he was supposed to be like, I guess, like fresh out of college. But I was like, come on, man, this guy looks like he's 40. And so there's a lot of reboots, and I mean, the most ridiculous one probably to us we saw in our lifetime would be Amazing Spider-Man 2, 2014, Peter Parker.
Gosh.
And 2 years later, in Civil War, it's a completely new Peter Parker, completely new origin, completely new universe. Because when it's time to reboot, you got to reboot.
Yeah. So we have so many reboots throughout, just not only in films, but in television, cartoons. You know, do you think that this season will have the same impact that seasons 1 and 2 had? Or will it fall to the curse of the reboot and just like basically fall short? Like we have seen, we named the more popular ones, the ones that have been doing well, but there have been some really shitty ones out there.
Yeah, I think this reboot is doing the smart thing where, you know, it doesn't try to completely radically shift from what you've known. It just tries to acknowledge things are different.
but we're gonna move on anyway. I would compare it to the 2021 Suicide Squad, where it's has to be in the same continuity. Maybe, but they don't really seem that dead set on making sure you know that. They're just like, here are some of the characters from the last one. The events of the last one, maybe they happened. Who cares? We don't. So I think that kind of loose approach to reboots can really help sometimes when you have something that mostly works, or you had elements of something that works and you're just trying to finesse them a little bit. So I think as long as you keep in mind what works and don't try to add it in a bunch of unnecessary stuff, you're in a safe place. And that's where it feels going into season 3 where they are.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the don't add any unnecessary stuff. We're looking at you, Avatar: The Last Airbender coming out, and please just don't do anything too crazy.
Yeah, they were like, oh, what if there was sex and violence? I was like, what if there wasn't?
Or even just like the big thing, what if we change the ages of Katara and Sokka? So.
No.
But yeah, I agree. I think that, I do see this new season as a reboot, and I am glad that they did such intentional planning to really show that there is this strong continuity, and it still does have that same feel. Like, in fact, it feels like it got more adult, to be honest. Like, I feel like we've stepped away from, just in these 2 episodes, kind of like the villains of the week. They're still there. I mean, yeah, it's like Harley Quinn, and then we have like the Benefree with Ebon. But it felt like it took the same elements of Static that we love. Like the fact that Static is someone who doesn't need to go into a physical altercation with somebody first and foremost. Like, every single time he talked with Allie, he talked. They did have a fight, but most of it was him being on the defensive, or him trying to trap her to say like, wait, I just want to talk with you. I just want you to listen, because, it's like, I'm trying to give you an opportunity to come back with me so that we can get you the help that you need. So that episode just like echoed all of that. And then with Gear, we got a chance to really kind of see once again a rekindling of the friendship between Virgil and Richie, but now into this new way of now to be like, we can be superhero crime fighting partners. So I have high hopes for season 3. Soundtrack and scores and music for Bigfoot aside.
Mm-hmm.
But so like, that's why I'm like hoping that even though this does feel like this soft reboot, we have like, again, we have a lot of elements that felt like we wanted to reintroduce the character even with him saying that like, yo, it is Static, don't start none, don't be none. It does feel like we're trying to reintroduce him. It also feels like we have a familiar face to what we've been going through for these last 2 seasons for him.
Yeah, the energy is good. It's like to quote Jamie Foxx in Spider-Man No Way Home. You've had enough time to see it. I like this new energy. This new energy here, and this new universe feels good, and it does feel good. It feels like we're on a new era, but we haven't lost anything that made the show so good up to this point. So yeah, high hopes.
All right. So the last thing I'm just gonna add here is there's a couple of story behind the scene nods for a couple of stuff that we saw here, comic book connections, and also what was happening behind in the industry. So in our Hard as Nails episode, Batman tells Static that he was, that Robin isn't there with them right now because of the fact that he's with the Teen Titans. And Static is thrilled to hear this, and even to the point where Batman says, oh yeah, don't worry, one day you'll meet them. There was supposed to be a planned episode crossover of Static Shock and the Teen Titans. Damn it. This, however, was stopped due to the fact that with this timeline of this episode, in the timeline of when Teen Titans, the original series, not Teen Titans Go, this the series that inspired the voicing, stylings, and the characters designs. The original Teen Titans, when they dropped, this is when they found out that Teen Titans was not a part of the DC AU proper. Therefore, they could not have this crossover episode.
My mind would have been blown if they had pulled that off. Like seeing Static in the anime-esque animation of Teen Titans. Oh my god. What a dream. What a dream.
Yeah. So a little heartbroken here for this one, but would have been so awesome. And but on the plus side, we do have in a couple more episodes a really great crossover event, because as we mentioned, Static has leveled up. He's gotten his superhero fighting partner in crime now. So this means that it's time for them to team up with the Justice League. So we're going to see that as kind of like our mid-season episode here for season 3. So very excited about that one. That was put in favor of the Teen Titans episode only because, once again, Teen Titans was not in the same universe. And we know this because in the Static Shock episode from season 2, Robin is Tim Drake, and I'm confirming it here now, even though it hasn't been truly confirmed. The one that was in the Robin that was in Teen Titans definitely Dick Grayson. Because
there's a scene in Teen Titans where he's having some flashbacks and you see a trapeze in his past. So yeah, definitely it's Dick.
Yeah.
Unless Tim went to the circus.
If they did, that means that they definitely rebooted his story in origin. All right, so that is our episode. That was Hard as Nails. That was Gear. We got Richie joining the fold now, and our quick conversation about reboots within the comic book and the movie world. So very excited for what's going to come next. In the meantime, y'all, take care of yourselves, and always remember that if you feel like you're getting smarter and feel like you're creating new things and everything, you have several options, but I will recommend the option in which you take over from Elon Musk.
Absolutely. And if any strangers on the internet tell you to come to Gotham, just know if you do it, either you're going to die or somebody else is going to die. So don't go to Gotham.
Right. Because Batman will find you.
He'll find you. Don't sell an eighth either.
Now that we've finished talking about our DC animated content, here are some recommended readings for you. All of these comics and more can be found at your local comic shop, so remember to venture out and support your part of the source wall. And tell them Andrew and Shamar sent you. Our comic for today is Static Shock: Rebirth of the Cool. With the popularity of the Static Shock animated series, Milestone drops a 4-part DC Universe story in 2001, reintroducing us to one of the most electrifying heroes in the game. That's all for our list. Thank you for listening, and be sure to rate, review, and follow yet another DC animated podcast. Also, interact with us on social media for news on upcoming content. Take care, and we'll see you for the next issue.